Hey guys, hi Chris.
Hello.
I hope you're all doing well after all these celebrations. And we have been discussing this topic before and thought it might be a nice, and because it keeps coming up in our conversations, we thought we were going to do another video on AI. And because I was showing off yesterday how I'm using my writing helping robot to post here, there, and everywhere. And actually, I saw somebody on Facebook, it was an advertising, that they were doing an artificial intelligence to write books and sell on Amazon. They didn't write a word of their own, they just used this robot. So I thought, oh, that's an interesting development. This AI seems to be more prevalent than
Gathering
the book
pace.
originally we might have stumbled on some nice topic here. So here we go. Is AI a threat to humans? And Chris knows more about this topic than me. I just have the experience of the writing robot, but he
Well,
knows more about it because maybe because of his background. So Chris, tell us, what's this thing about the threat,
I mean, I'm
AI threat?
look. Thanks for the thanks for bigging me up. I'm not a massive expert about AI either. I'm one of these people who likes to keep abreast of what changes
Mm-hmm.
and developments are
Yeah.
happening and because and this is like AI. Without question. And I know people will say, "Oh, this was said before," but the internet, when when it became possible to monetize the internet, which happened with Google in 2000 when they invented, AdWords and AdSense, which basically meant people could advertise on the internet and make money through exposing these things on websites and stuff. That's when the whole thing took off, really, because then all of a sudden you could buy things on the internet because that technology became available as well. And I remember in like 2000, it was like, whoa, like 1% of Christmas presents was bought online. This is going to get big, 1%. And now, 20 years later, you know, it's a rarity if people are going to the shops as opposed to buying online. It's like it's like people who go to the shops are the people who want an experience, a day out, a bit of fun, going and looking around the shops. They're not. It's not serious anymore as it was back then. There was no options, but now everyone just buy. Yeah, I'll get you something online. It'll be delivered tonight at 10 o'clock. What? 10 o'clock
Mm,
tonight, the same day? That's unheard of, isn't it? At the shops, like
yeah.
we'll order it for you and you'll have it in 2 weeks. What? 2 weeks? Forget it. I'll buy it online. And so the pace of change that the internet has brought about has meant that before it was the first version of the internet was like, let's slap a web page up and tell people our phone number, a little bit of a brochure, if you like, about our company. But that was the end of it. Then came what can we sell on the internet, and then became that whole commercial aspect of it. And then the third element of it became interactive stuff where you produce your own content and you share it with the world. So that's social media and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got the because we're collecting all this data, we now have the two more things emerging. One is like the Internet of Things, which has been going on for a while, which we talked about in the last one, which is basically everything that's manufactured, sent anywhere, is basically monitored and the data is collected so you know exactly what's going on at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And then AI, which is basically interpreting that data and making decisions which simplify the human elements. All the boring administrative stuff can be done automatically, pretty much by robots. Like now we've got McDonald's stores that don't have anybody in them. It's all machines.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right? So But no one likes working in McDonald's anyway, do they? So at the end of the day, it's relieving the human populations of doing that. But what are they going to do then if they're not doing anything there? What are they
That's
going
the
to
thing. What how are we gonna be um
earning
like
money?
in my case, I am writing content, and because I've got to write a lot these days for Instagram and everywhere else, I resort to the robot, and it gives me ideas and interesting. Like I could ask him. Even look, I'm referring to this robot as a him.
There are other
But
genders available.
yes, so it gives me a nice paragraph that I can then utilize and maybe change bits and pieces here. But it's already ready and quite okay as it is. Now, I have lived life for a number of years, and I've got a good grasp of language and how to write and all of this. But what about a child who's now learning to write, or is that's how they're expected to, because nobody gets born to write properly, or what's properly? Well, a good way of good level of language. And all they are exposed to is this help. They're never going to learn to write. They're never going to learn to have this
Well,
brain,
one thing you could say,
develop the
no,
brain to do that. So,
well, there's one way of looking at it is they're never going to put it. The other way of looking at it is they've got a permanent help on sitting on their shoulder where they can say, well, what are some examples of how to write this properly, and then they'll get some examples and they basically gravitate towards the one that they like best. So you could say, and then you say to yourself, well, if they're writing these AIs are writing this stuff so well, what's the point in us learning how to do that? Like spelling. What's the point in us learning how to spell it when every time we make a mistake, we're told we made a mistake and we just get it
but
auto-correct?
then you know that when you're reading an older book, like from the older authors, the minute you read a paragraph, you know that this came from this author. You know the style, you know the way they write. And then you read another paragraph, and you can definitely say, well, this is from this other author. So that the level of creativity, the human input into the text gets lost. So we now have AI, and to be honest, as much as I'm singing the praises of this robot, it tends to write in the same pattern.
Yeah, of
So
course,
you
because
can,
what can it
so
do?
for somebody who knows to see um, patterns in the text, I can look at something and I know whether it was created by a human or by a robot.
Right, okay, so let me take it a bit further. What about if you have Shakespeare AI and we have some other, like some other Dickinson AI, and they write in the style of Dickinson?
So they write, yeah, because we also learned in our school days to write in the style of such and such author. So okay, that's not a very difficult thing to achieve, I suppose.
Yeah,
You
so,
give the robot all the books of the same author, and they'll figure out how to write like them.
yeah. I mean, and it's not like the issue really is more about how is education going to change to basically
Yeah,
be able to make more use of AI, because education systems are incredibly costly, right? They are basically going at the speed of the slowest participant, right? There's all sorts of rubbish attached with education. It's expensive, it's predetermined, they've got to do it at the same time every day. It causes traffic jams, it causes this, it causes that. The parents have got to go to, there's all sorts of problems, right? So could AI and electronic learning, and the fact that the kids don't have to go to a school and they don't have to go at the same time, and they don't have to go and like learning by rote, and they don't have to, you can go at the speed you want to go at, not the slowest individual, right? If you can take away all of those problems with learning online,
mm-hmm.
powered by an AI which interprets the speed of the child and everything else and produces the right kind of stimulation, and you eradicate all those problems, is that not going to be something that the
That is
education?
That is amazing. The way you're describing it is amazing.
Right.
And so in that case, I don't see it as a threat, because our
No,
title is it a threat to humans?
no, this is not a threat. That's a dupe. That is a basically an encouragement to accept more AI. Which, of course, why would you do that? Why are we doing shopping online? Well, we don't have to go in the rain. We don't have to drive to the shops. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. We get the right product. We get it quickly. We get like, there's so many
Mm,
reasons why it works that it was inevitable, wasn't it, that it was going to take off,
yeah.
right? It was inevitable. So
But
if
then we
you,
have this laziness in our human nature.
well, no, it's
We
about
want things
finding
to be
more
not laziness, but we want things to be
efficient,
easy.
efficient.
Okay, efficient.
Yeah, and you're a cult. You're susceptible to this, right? So if you've got an education system, right, and we've got another pandemic coming, according to Bill Gates, right, in 2025, right? What do you think they're going to bring in? What do you think is going to happen to the education environment? They're going to collapse this one in preference to people learning in a different approach. We've already had it, didn't we? Because the online learning was brought in 2000 because of the pandemic. What's going
And
to happen is it's going to be
mm,
accelerated. Why? Because of cost savings, because of problem resolution. And are the kids going to get a better experience? Probably, as long as they can be encouraged to participate in sporting activities and group gatherings
somewhere where they can be
regularly.
together with their
Yeah,
friends and be
regularly, right?
socializing. But if that's cut out,
Yeah, but they'll all be doing that locally anyway because we're all going to be contained within our zones
mm,
anyway. And within the zone, you did this in your village where you came from. Yeah, there were loads of
mhm.
people at the local school, right? So just be localized stuff. People don't need to go anywhere particularly. They can do it all locally. Look, you can see how it can be pushed and how people can like what I'm describing is really good, isn't it? It's like it's not the I should be a salesperson for the next AI evolution, right?
For the
Because
next day, I
right,
um, uh, educational
yeah,
application.
the way I'm selling it to you, you're going to say, "Oh, everybody will love this. It's going to be amazing," and the parents can work at home and they can have this. Yeah, they can. Yeah, you can have like pseudo classrooms where people who like each other can congregate around a group and they can all be together and there'll be 5 of them or 6 of them, small groups, good sized groups, and they can have their personal AI on hand. It's like it's amazing. Right? Now
So that's great. It's not a threat. It's
that's
actually a
not that.
boost.
Well, it is a threat 'cause it's a threat about being a human. It's dehumanizing you, right? It's one way it's
Hmm.
dehumanizing you, right? And you're basically now this is the prison or this is the scope of what we're delivering, and everybody is being funneled through one
Through that.
system. So it's basically indoctrination, and
Hmm.
whoever's in charge of the AI is doing the indoctrinating.
But could
Dangerous.
there be different types of AI? I mean, not
Yes, it
types,
could, but
different
whoever
sources of AI. But there's always been
it's going to be central control. It doesn't matter whether there's
controlling
AI one, AI
group.
two, AI three. It's all being run by centralization, and that's the problem, right? So that is a threat. It's a threat to our humanization, right? It's a threat to that. Now, let me bring up then the concept of pace of change, right? So the radio was invented, I don't know, or the what do you call it, the sonar and
The
all this
18, which one? The radio.
late 1800s probably,
Yeah,
and
1800.
then the radio was
Alexander Bell, was it? Or was
yeah.
that the foreign?
Well, I don't know
I
who it.
can't
You may
remember
just
now. Yeah.
punch in your AI and they'll tell you. Then 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 in 1900 the radio and then the combustion engine was developed and then all sort, and then oil was around and there new types of automation, not steam but electricity and all this kind of stuff, and the whole thing. And then you had the TV in the 40s, and
Hmm.
then you had the computer in the 50s, color TV in the 60s, and you think to yourself, color TV in 1960, it's only 60 years ago when we had a color TV. Like
Yeah.
there was nothing before that, just 1960. It's not, I was born in 62. Like
Well,
it's
I remember our first color TV. It was a big deal. And
yeah,
I
and
was probably 10, 11.
It's not even a lifetime ago. It's not
Yeah.
even a lifetime ago. And if you put it into perspective, all of that has happened relatively quickly in 50 years, right? The
Hmm.
biggest development that was before that was the printing press in 1600s, right?
Yeah.
That was that enabled books to be distributed everywhere, right? That
And
was
newspapers. Yeah. Hmm.
the previous huge transition. And now we're in the computer zone in the 1950s, 60s, and they've gone from filling 3 rooms and weighing 3 tons to this in 60 years, right? It's like, bloody hell, where are we going to be in another 60 years? Now, this is the frightening bit, right? This is the bit where you say, right, okay, there's a word called singularity. What does singularity mean? Well, singularity means there is the same levels of computing power and capability in machines, computers, as there are in human beings on the planet, right? And the estimate is that this is going to reach the point of the sameness by 2045, 20 years away. Now,
Hmm.
at that point, you could say that the machine capabilities on the planet are the same as the humans' capabilities on the planet, right? And if there's a mass killing of people at some point or whatever between now and then, it might happen earlier, right? And that might be some kind of
Because there's going to be more computers already.
yeah, exactly. So it could be earlier,
It's
right?
not that
Now,
much of a difference at the moment between the one and the other.
now, what happens at that point? Right. Well, at that point, if you take how, like, we're still warring with people, we're still killing ourselves, and we're still doing all this
Hmm.
nonsense, right? And we've been doing it for 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 years, right? We're not, we're still cavemen, really. And
We're not very
cavewomen
advanced if we
in our
look
brains
about
is
it.
fight and flight and all this kind of stuff. This was all installed back in the day, right? Now we haven't really gone very far, right? The technology's moved on, but human beings' ability to process and do stuff has not moved on at the same pace. We're analog. In
We're
a
analog,
digital
yeah.
world, we're an analog creature, right? Now, along comes a digital creature. Now, you might say creature, but it's not alive, is it? Well, okay, it's not alive in the sense of alive as you and I are alive,
Alive,
but
not as a human. Hmm.
no, but all this needs is a bit of sunlight to power itself up, and it needs some legs and a bit more intelligence about what it should be doing next and everything else. And suddenly we've got a creature that doesn't eat, doesn't need vegetables, doesn't need meat, doesn't need it doesn't need a place to live. It doesn't need much, does it? What it needs is access to energy, sunlight, and capability to look after itself, right? Which possibly is where AI is leading. Now,
Hmm.
at that point where the collective intelligence of machines is the same as the human species, what's stopping these machines from creating better versions of themselves and exponentially look at how the pace of change has gone from a TV to now in 60 years? In another 60 years, where could an artificial intelligence with a capability to process, test, uh, get results,
Simulate,
simulate
and
stuff,
yeah.
how far could they take it ahead of where humans could? It's an exponential acceleration away from human beings in terms of more intelligent at the point where they get beyond us. So in 60 years or 100 years, they could be 200 times more intelligent than the human race. And at that point, what have we got? And this
Well,
is a
as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about these ancient civilizations that we have legends about, that they got so advanced in their technology that they got extinct themselves. They extincted themselves.
yeah.
And it was like, how is this even possible in those early years of um,
We don't
our
want
technology,
to.
when our technology was very rudimentary compared to nowadays? It was like, yeah, right, this is just a strange legend. It's not possible. Like Atlantis, oh, they were so advanced, they extincted themselves. Really? Now it looks like it's really very, very probable.
Well, it could be possible, like, and you take the Terminator series where humans basically in their desperation because basically they created AI to be subservient to the human race, and then you just get we don't know what's going to happen, do we? Just needs somebody, one person, or maybe a group of people to say, I'm going to push ahead with this technology for the simple reason that it gives us an advantage in war or
Hmm.
domination because we're absolutely obsessed with it. And
Yeah.
suddenly you've got a machine that says, I know I was created to protect this human race, but I'm going to protect them in a way that they don't quite understand. Is I'm going to protect them from hurting each other,
Yeah.
and I'm going to take control. And
I'm taking
suddenly
control of all your weapons, and now
take
I'm gonna
control of your
shoot you
planet.
if you don't behave like who you like.
And it came out in Space Odyssey 2001, where HAL, the computer on the ship, basically wouldn't allow them to override the systems because it knew that humans weren't to be trusted. And, they've got a point, haven't they? Humans are not to be trusted.
Hmm.
And the other side to this is we evolve as a human race in terms of spiritually and our cognizance and working together as a group collective without greed and ego and fighting each other. Right, we haven't managed it, have we? In thousands of years, do we really think that in the next 20 years we're going to we're
But
going to,
that's the only seems like it's the only reason that greed and domination, control and power. That's the reason why we've been driving these technologies ahead.
well, it is for war, to
That
get an
they have
advantage
been the outcome of our human condition at the moment as we are.
So
So we
this is,
were a bit curious about asking my writing robot that same question. And now let's see what it's going to say, because um, we don't know. I haven't done it yet. So the question was, how could AI make humans extinct?
uh-huh,
Now let me move this out of the way. Right, can you see my screen? Yes.
yeah.
So where is it going? There. So I'm going to hit this button, hit this, yes, submit. And let's see what the AI will say about extinction of humans by AI. Well, it says there is currently no credible evidence or scenario in which artificial intelligence could directly cause the extinction of the human race. While it is possible that AI could be used to create new technological and scientific developments that could have unintended consequences or be used in harmful ways, it is important to remember that AI is a tool that is created and controlled by humans. It is possible that AI could be used to automate certain tasks or industries, leading to changes in the job market and potentially contributing to societal upheaval. However, it is important to consider the potential risks and benefits of AI and to ensure that it is developed and used in a responsible and ethical manner. It is also important to consider the potential risks and benefits of any new technology or scientific advancement and to take steps to mitigate any negative impacts. I wonder whether it knows about singularity.
No, but hang on a
What
minute.
is
This sounds like a sales pitch to get people who are under threat to not worry about the threat.
Yeah, it does sound a little bit like that. It's like, what was this in sales? Overcoming objections.
Obstacles, yeah, objections. Yeah.
So, what is singularity? Whether it knows this is a term that has been used to describe a hypothetical future point in time when artificial intelligence will surpass human intelligence and be able to independently improve and advance itself. The concept of singularity is often associated with predictions about the future of AI and how it might impact society, including the potential for AI to transform the economy, the nature of work, and the balance of power between humans and machines. There is no consensus among experts about whether or when singularity might occur, and some experts believe that the concept is not well defined or scientifically grounded. Some experts also worry that the singularity could pose risks to humanity, including the possibility that AI could become more intelligent than humans and potentially pose a threat to our society or control. It is important to consider the potential risks and benefits of AI and to ensure that it is developed. This is the same sentence, by the way, that is developed and used in a responsible and ethical manner. Talking about patterns and expressing itself. There you go, you see it.
Yeah, so
So,
let's talk about that now. We'll get rid of that one. Okay, so like what it's basically saying is there's no consensus. It's not dismissing it as rubbish. It's just basically saying there is no consensus of agreement. And of course, we're talking about the future. We know already that the future doesn't exist until we make it, and we can only deal in what's going on now. What I'm telling you is that looking back on the history, the
mhm,
advances have been significant and fast. And basically, Moore's law says things are going to double in every year or 4 years or something. It's basically, you can look it up, Moore's law. But anyway, it basically explains the rapid development of all things, not just originally it used to be about the computer chip itself, the actual processor would double in power and the memory of in computer. And this has got 128 gigabytes, right? Your telephone 128 gigabytes. You can get 512 gigabytes, which is half a terabyte, in that phone now today, right? In the same size chassis, right? Now, these when I first worked on computers back in the 19 like in the early days of computers, the processors and the memory you used to get like 16K, right?
mhm.
That that's
And
like
there was a Bulgarian computer that was 8K.
K. Yeah,
K.
yeah, absolutely. Right. And these are thousands, not millions, not a megabyte. This is 8K, 8,000, right? Not 8 million, not 8 meg, right? And when I worked in London on the first the computers, the Nixdorf computer basically had, I don't know, 256K of internal memory. That was what it was working in. This has got 128 gigabytes, right? This is like thousands of millions, right? This was
Wow.
just like thousands, and you had to write a program that fitted into 16K, like 16,000, like that. That's 16,000 characters. That's all the program. That's the biggest it could be, right? And that was a partition, and there was one per person using, and there were like 16 partitions, and people could use these partitions to run programs. Right? 8 screens, 10 screens and it was running a company, right? You couldn't imagine how it could work. It was all character based. There was no graphics or anything. But and the disk storage, right? The disk storage, it had 2 drives. One of the drives was fixed, 5 megabytes, 5 megabytes, and the one that was removable, which was like a massive, great big disk, right? That was 5 megabytes. So you could back it up onto that
So
one, and
that's even not even the size of a photograph, or like a middle-sized, normal kind of regular
photographs are
photograph.
4 megabytes these days. One picture, four
Yeah,
megabytes.
one picture will be filling that
Filling the whole of one of
the
these
whole
discs. Right? And
drive.
we are running companies and production systems on this device, right? They shut the whole company down to upgrade the Systime machine over the weekend. It took a weekend, 2 engineers for the weekend, to go from
Mm.
256K, quarter of a megabyte, to 512K, half a megabyte. It took a whole weekend. Everyone off, nobody coming in working this weekend because we need to upgrade the system machine, right? And that was what we did. We took it up by half a megabyte, by a quarter of a megabyte. It was looking back like that was in the 80s. Right? We're talking 40 years ago, and the vast you can't even I couldn't imagine. I got access to almost all the information available in the world on this device, right? It was just
Mhm.
like that would have been a mind screw in those days, right? And now where we are, what would happen in another 40 years? Where will we be? And it's not inconceivable to imagine what we've been talking about in this singularity, is it? It's not inconceivable, is it? Because human beings are absolutely infatuated with driving technology forward because it improves control and manipulation, and they can basically kill other
Well,
people.
even if it's not for the general public person who don't bother about control, they're still bothered by showing themselves as having the latest technology, or um,
And how much?
being successful. If I have this phone, I'm successful. If I have this new car, I'm more successful than you. And it's that comparison with each other that is driving
Another,
us to be
which is,
investing in these machines, because if we weren't buying them, they wouldn't be making them.
I will be falling behind as well. So comparison is another interesting one to do because it's another disease of the human race is comparison.
Hmm.
But you're absolutely right. If like we are infatuated with getting bigger, better, faster, quicker, like all improving things all the time. And I question, and this is the point, I question how much effort will we put in to ensuring these things can't be used for bad purposes. I
Hmm.
question that because it needs to be almost like the paramount question: can this be used in an alternative way? And we need to put all our energy into that, really, for the simple reason that if at Singularity, the those devices start to put their effort into how can we manipulate these for our gain, right? They're going to put way more resources into it than we can, but we've lost control at that point. It's over.
Mm.
It's finished. And the people that the AI there was saying, oh yeah, we don't really know, we don't really, like it's not too bad. We just got to be careful.
Well,
Yeah,
this one is a writing prompt, so it's
I mean,
not one of those other
but we've got
kind
to,
of helpers who can actually execute models and
yeah, but we've got to be
future.
careful, haven't we? The advice
Mhm.
being written in there, which is obviously sucked up from the internet, is we've got to be like this is a lot of human beings producing this kind of response. Me as well here. We've got to be careful. We have to be careful. And the trouble is that if we don't take care, there'll come a point where it doesn't matter if we think we ought to or not. It's over.
It's gonna be like the cat's out of the bag.
It's too late. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Mm.
It no longer fits. It's twice the genie it was. So it's a fascinating subject, and one that should be on the table for discussion in all over the place
And
because
it's not that we haven't got the ideas about this, because we have all these movies
Terminator,
like you
Matrix.
mentioned Terminator, but I'm thinking the Matrix, where the machines were completely not sensible, but they were absolutely intelligent. I didn't think about where they were getting their energy from. I think, oh no, it was they were harvesting it from the humans. It was quite macabre in that respect.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
they were using
We were
us
basically
humans, well, not
batteries.
us humans, as human batteries, yes, but it's not that difficult to imagine that it could happen.
I mean,
Or there was another one. Was it RoboCop, or where Sylvester Stallone was a robot, and all the humans. He was a policeman with
yeah.
Sandra Bullock. She was like knowing all the processes and the procedures, and he was being a little bit more of a humanized version. Or was he a human? I can't remember now. But all the humans were driven underground. They were pushed there hiding, and from there they were insurging, and um, they were being the dirty ones, while everybody else was part of the system, partly
I
robotized
mean,
with, I don't know, chips in their heads and I don't know what.
well, he was underground as a sort of somebody brought out of cryostasis, where he was basically brought back to fight. So that was Demolition Man, and then you had RoboCop, which is him as a futuristic policeman, and then but yeah, all of these things, they all have a point, and they all come from somewhere, and like it's not enough to say, oh, this could never happen. That's what I'm
It's
saying.
not
It's not
enough,
enough.
no.
It's not
Mm.
enough to say that. I don't know, and I really don't know how you can stop it going bad. And when you mention previous incarnations of the human race in previous situations where they're just myths now, perhaps they got to this point and just got it wrong.
And now we're
or,
going to do it as well. Be
yeah,
the next.
yeah, there could be a seventh coming back to basics, wipe everything off, and like let the planet regenerate itself, and then we come back for another go. Who knows?
Hmm.
These are all interesting thoughts, and there are no answers.
And like, what do we know? So it's good to see what other people, what you guys have, what's your take on this topic. So please, if you haven't yet, I forgot to say that earlier. If you
Yeah,
haven't yet, please subscribe. There's a subscribe button somewhere there on our bottom. Because we're doing these every day. These videos are either live streaming on YouTube, or some of them we put on our Patreon. So if you want to have full access to everything we create, some of it is hidden on Patreon, some of it is free to see there as well. But do please come and join us and subscribe, like, and share, because maybe if you found this video useful, maybe someone else might find it useful. So we would appreciate that, and your friend might say thank you for sharing this information with me. So thank you for watching. Anything else, Chris? Anything else to add to this quite interesting topic? We might do another one on this. I don't know, as we kind of our thoughts develop on this.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what's what's ahead in terms of conversations, and there'd be something which is aligned to this, not probably the same because that would be a bit repetitive, but
or something else on the topic, which is like we have we developed. That's it. Yeah. No need to explain any further. Right. Thanks for watching.
Bye for now.